know that there's something out there for you. Things that are great come from struggle. Really think that's important. If I'm static in high school, I'll be static in life, and I didn't want that. So I really took that a lot of consideration and did a deep soul search for myself. And what I was doing was really forming a start for my entrepreneur journey. I would say I did pretty good. I did really good. I'm still here.
Welcome to Stronger Than You Think, a podcast by Youth Villages. I'm your host, Alec Ogg. In each episode, you'll hear a story of resilience from a former foster youth. They've overcome unimaginably difficult circumstances, and they'll share a mental health practice that helped them to persevere. You'll also be hearing from mental health professionals who work at Youth Villages. They'll add some clinical perspective on how you can incorporate these mental health tools into your own life so that you can be stronger than you think. Today's guest is Ajah.
Okay, my name is Ajah McCullough. I'm from North Carolina, and I am 21 years old.
We'll be discussing the idea of reinventing yourself after trauma. This includes exposure to new places and perspectives, modeling the positive behaviors of others, and how media diet and the information you take in can help you become who you want to be. Here to expand on these themes is Rebekah Lemmons.
I am Rebekah Lemmons, and I'm the Managing Director of Clinical Services at Youth Villages in Memphis.
Rebekah has a PhD in counselor education and does clinical trainings, develops programs, and supports the overall quality of care for children and families that Youth Villages serves.
I haven't had any clients that have come across my desk or my personal caseload where there wasn't trauma or toxic stress involved. And so just realizing and validating that we all have different types of trauma and toxic stress, that if you work with humans, you work with trauma. I saw that on a card the other day, and I was like, wow, that's great. So that's just something I think that's important to keep in mind as we all work through things, together, as we bring things up in a helping, safe relationship, and as we decide what we want to do in terms of our value add to society and to our own life choices and decisions.
Before we get into Ajah's story, I want to give a quick content warning that this episode contains references that may be triggering and difficult to hear. This includes references to child abuse, rape, sexual assault, suicidal ideation, and mental illness. This trigger warning is to empower you as the listener to make a healthy decision about if, when, and how you should consume this episode. If you need support, please look at the links for resources we've listed in the show notes. Now, here's Ajah's story. Is there a scene that jumps out as kind of a beginning of your story or your journey?
It's a very sad part.
Hey, it's okay to start off sad if you're comfortable.
Okay. I would say that I remember when I was like 8 or 9, I was going to sleep. It was nighttime, and I just remember my stepdad coming in the room and trying to rape me. Yep. That's how it started. I remember dark shadow, very tall. Couldn't really make out until I knew it was him. I felt like what I said did not matter because I was a child, and people living there were adults, and adults have more authority over a child. So I felt like what happened to me was insignificant to them because it was more of how they'll be seen in saving face. As I got older, it got worse. This has happened from either 8 or 9 to 14. I feel like I would have wound up dead because I was thinking of suicidal thoughts. I felt like there was literally no way out. So I think I would have been dead. Everybody else seemed like they were doing okay, but I wasn't. The time I told my mom about it, and then I was 13, turning 14, I just remember how shocked she looked when I told her. I was expecting something to happen. And the following day, nothing happened. It was literally nothing happened. And I'm just like, you're my mom. You're supposed to protect me. And I told you. And that really made me mad, really pissed me off. It was just like, well, if mom's not going to help, who's going to help? So I told my big brother about it. I don't know what happened. I just know my older brother told my cousin on the man's side of the family, and that's all I knew. I don't know who really told on the cops, but they showed up within the following week of that happening. It was very horrible. I remember 2 ladies had to take me, my brother, and my little brother out. And I remember being hospitalized to check for any bruises and if I was pregnant or not. Luckily, I wasn't. I thank God for that. Like, I really was glad. The night did not end so well because my little brother was a bit younger than me and my brother. We were like 14 at the time. My little brother, he was about 6. And so they had to put us in a separate home. That was very traumatic towards me because I looked out for him when things were going tough, kind of like a second mom. I just remember that feeling of betrayal, sadness, and confusion. People in foster care saying that they'll reunite me back with my family, and my little brother was my family, and that never happened. And that I'm still angry about it. Like, I really am, because just like they didn't really keep their word either. But like, I feel mad at myself too for not trying too hard. But then again, I was a kid. I can't really do much. I didn't have the power to do so. So it was just like a slap in the face. Just like, wow, I trusted your word and that did not happen. And it's the social worker job to help out with that. And she didn't.
What was your mom doing at this time?
I believe she was in jail because neglect. I didn't know that was a thing, but they explained it to me. And I was like, well, that makes sense because you didn't protect me or any of us. So
she was in jail from this circumstance? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because they were saying that she was basically an accomplice because she didn't do anything. Even do anything is like doing something. I just believe that the man in the household in power, I don't like to call him stepdad, so I'm just calling the man in power, had control of mostly everything. And I believe he did some psychological abusing towards her, like in her mind. Because like, I felt like she was at a comfortable position and she was vulnerable and like she was too open, I believe, that he took advantage and she was blindsided.
That night the cops came and you were separated from your younger brother. What happened next?
They just like dropped me off at like a random person's house and I didn't even know who that was. I didn't know what was going to happen next. It was just like all happening at once. I didn't take it all in well. It was a foster house. It was like a very old lady. Like, look, she was in her 80s. I'm probably exaggerating, but that's what she looked like. I know I was limited to what I can eat. There were like limits to food and I couldn't eat as I wanted. She was a very strict lady. I needed someone to talk to emotionally and she was just not the one to talk to. Like, it was just very hard to talk to her. So I think around 14 turning 15, my social worker had told me that my grandma will be taking me and my big brother in. She did, in which she ended up adopting us. It was really good on my part because it was someone I was familiar with and comfortable talking to, and she was just familiar. I remember I just lived with her my first year of high school.
Okay, so now you're in high school and you're still kind of dealing with this trauma from your childhood. What was that like?
I remember feeling very anxious. I feel like whenever I went to, my body reacted in a way that I couldn't move because there were so much changes going on and my body couldn't take it. I couldn't really do too much. I felt very stagnant and I feel like I was depressed. And I feel like I had nothing to look forward in life, no purpose, no nothing. I'm just here. And it was very hard to make friends because I didn't feel comfortable talking to anyone unless they had somewhat of a relation to what I had. So it won't be so awkward. Because like other people from like other lives from different perspectives don't know how it is for a foster kid. And so it's like very weird when they talk about it and then they can feel uncomfortable and then you're uncomfortable and just like, okay, I shouldn't have done that.
So then it kind of reinforces that like, okay, every time I talk about my story, it just makes people uncomfortable. And so you kind of stop doing that.
Yeah.
This is when Ajah was introduced to youth villages through the LifeSet program. LifeSet supports foster youth and helps them overcome the impact of childhood adversity as they begin to navigate the adult world. Participants are also appointed an individualized LifeSet specialist who meets with them face-to-face and helps stabilize even the toughest situations.
My social worker introduced me to LifeSet. I think that was about the time that I was getting adopted by my grandma, and I had a mentor. She had helped me see things from a other perspective, more than just my city. Like, there's more things out there. Knowing that there's more than just where I was living at. I remember going to the beach, how pretty it was.
So had you ever left your hometown up until that point?
No, she was like the only one that really got me out there.
And so your specialist wanted you to have that experience and drove you out there?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
So I remember going to this hotel. It was very nice. I remember smelling like vanilla bean spray. I don't know what kind of spray it was, but it was so good. I remember just like tall showers and how peaceful it is to just like take a shower and hear the birds chirping in the morning. And when it go out, it was just like so warm, so peaceful. People there were just like so light, not so much stress. It was just really good to be out. People playing volleyball, playing with a frisbee, and just seeing a whole lot of birds. I forgot what they're called, but like feed them some crackers. Not supposed to, but I mean, it was cute to see. But I think we stayed there for like a good 3 days, so it was very short because I was still in school. So
Yeah.
I was really fun. I really liked that.
Rebekah, from a counselor's perspective, I'm guessing experiencing new places is good for your mental health?
Absolutely. There are so many things that I love about her getting these new experiences. I mean, of course, a trusting relationship and the connections and just the positive memories that are built are, lasting and healing and helpful. So it, not only gives you those memories to look back on to where if you're having a tough day, you can say, hey, I've got this great memory. Hey, I've got this great connection. Hey, I've got this great experience. But it also allows you to try on new and different things. So people, places, and things so that you can start to increase your big picture. And you can say, okay, this is the life that I have and that I've known. And is that the life that I still want? Or do I want some of these things added? Or do I think I want to get here? So what it does is it shifts your perspective and it opens you up to new possibilities, which can be wildly impactful because all of a sudden the world is this big place and you can explore and you can try things on and you can make mistakes and find who you are. Whereas sometimes people feel more boxed in and trapped without those experiences and they just don't have that big picture. You just know only what you know. So the more that you can increase that, the better for everyone.
After this trip, Ajah began to have some realizations.
What I really wanted to do ever since I was a kid was to have my own business, and I really felt like that was never possible. But I feel like with my mentor I could, because she was someone that had a lot of resources and knew a whole lot of people, and I felt like if I did good in school that I can also do good in life. At a certain point in high school, my sophomore year, I felt like I'm here for a purpose, and it just happened because I saw this sign on the board in school. It says something like, you are what you make, and like I really given that a thought. I did a whole lot of Googling. I was like obsessed with what that meant because it didn't make sense to me. I was just like, what does that mean? And I was in like a whole bunch of YouTube videos of what it means in certain scenarios, and then I got into short films because of that.
So you're Googling like on YouTube, you are what you make, or you are, what was it?
You are what you make.
You are what you make.
Yeah.
And you were just kind of trying to find the meaning behind that phrase.
Yeah, like it made no sense to me. I just wanted to know what it meant.
Yeah.
I remember I forgot the title of it. There was this person that was like CEO of business. He wanted his son to take over his business, and it's like in one of the scenes in that short film, he had a flashback of him as a kid in poverty. I believe it was in India. I was like, if someone from that low in life is at that level years later, then it's just like, why can't I do the same? So that's when I just started to look at kids my age being successful in high school. I was like literally obsessed with just like learning people. So I looked up to students that were successful, and I copied what they did. I did trial and error with the way I talk, how I carried myself. I would just practice talking to certain people or just people in general. I would analyze their body language and the way they sound when they talk, tone. I just remember one day just having an idea to, hey, what if I smiled every day, had a chirpy voice, and eyes wide open? And I was so tired. But it's like people like that a lot. Like, I attracted more people because people like to see a smiling face, chirper personality, headstrong. That's a lot of energy. I couldn't do it for longer. I was just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, that was a lot of change happening between how people treated me more nice, of course, because I was chipper. So, I mean, yeah. I was feeling very comfortable. I even signed up for track for the next year of high school. And I have also grown a lot closer to my teachers. I did have more friends. Well, I will say associates, they're friends. Just like, I know that they'll like recognize me and acknowledge me. So that was really good.
Rebekah, Ajah began to have those positive experiences she described by observing and then modeling the positive behaviors she saw in others, and then trying them on, per se, to see if they brought out the best in her personality. Is that tactic of behavior modeling ever used on the clinical side?
That's a great question. So I think one of the pieces that's helpful is when you think about, brain development and early on development, even in babies and infants, there's this modeling approach of a serve and return where you smile or you engage with them and they learn to connect and they learn to engage. And so potentially what was happening with Ajah is that she was starting to engage in that and to kind of try on these new behaviors, which for her, she was able to integrate. All right, these are the behaviors that are helpful for me and are helping me. And I think what also would be clinical in terms of the support work for that would be, if you are smiling, that's been shown to activate different facial muscles so that you will actually have different chemicals in the brain that can be elevated, just like if you were exercising, and that's going to activate different chemicals. Your body language and just your presence and changing your posture, such as rolling your shoulders back, opening up your arms and body to where your chest is open, then you can take in more air into your lungs, which is calming and cooling. So it brings that kind of Zen effect, or a lot of yoga practices use that as well as a heart opening posture. And all of those things can be life-changing. So those little changes that you bring awareness to and then bring your attention to continue to create habits and changes can be wildly impactful over time, even if it's something that's very small at first. So there is some legitimacy to that as well, that trying on approach. And I think for her, she used it in an appropriate way where she said, this is something that I want, so it's part of my goals. I'm not trying to become someone who I'm not, but this is a goal of mine to be that person. And I think that's what's important, is that she wasn't doing this in a way to fit in that was inappropriate for her. She was doing it in a way that for her felt genuine and authentic to who she really wanted to be and knew she could become. And that's the epitome of strength and resilience.
We're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is, therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And special offer to Stronger Than You Think listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/STYT, the initials of this show. That's betterhelp.com/STYT. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
All right, so modeling behavior is your first step in reinventing yourself, and that gets you through high school. What's the next chapter?
I'm going to college.
Nice.
College. When I turned 18, I just felt like the weight was on me. I was just like, wow, I am 18. I am 18 years old. I'm still here. I got to do something about my life. I still believe that I can have my own business, and I still do. And I came across a friend of my uncle's about an audiobook. I've heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Right in high school, it's just like, I want you to listen to this. His friends like, I want you to listen to this every single day. And I did just that. I listened to it every single day. And it made me see another perspective on just finances. Because, like, when you're an adult, that's the main thing you have to think about is money. I was just, like, taking it all in. And I was like, this possibility of me doing this is very high now. I was just like, I'm going to follow what the book says. Because, like, it makes sense to me. So as soon as I graduated high school, I went straight to college for accounting. Like, I will be that person that would Google everything and find information. Just like, hey, where'd you get this information? I just Googled it. I know a whole lot of sites to go to for financial tips. I looked at a whole lot of videos on networking. The list goes on. I feel like there were self-development videos as well. Just like one thing led to another. It was just snowballing. I feel like YouTube and the internet basically taught me everything. Not everything, but like a lot of important things as far as relationships and finances, because no one else was teaching me, give me any advice on it. So I'm now, instead of a shopaholic for clothes, I'm a shopaholic for information. And most information that I look for is things related to investing. And I would eat that information up. I would review a whole lot outside from my college classes and just like think about the future ahead with this information. What I was doing was really forming a start for my entrepreneur journey. And I'm just starting off with investments. Of course, I had to work for that, but also be mindful of what I was spending and keeping goals in mind. I would say I did pretty good. I did really good. I really thought I would have nothing when I graduated high school, like nothing, like $0. No, just like I'm not trying to brag. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. I just, from person from foster care, I saved a whole lot compared to most. That's what my mentor told me.
Yeah,
and I was like, really?
Share your wins.
Wins.
Did it feel good to start having an expertise in something?
Yes, most definitely. Opened up a whole lot of opportunities too. I feel like if all else fails, I have my degree. But also, I can actually use this in my life and not just taking classes just to be taking classes.
What kind of business could you envision in the future for yourself?
Honestly, it's like either an accounting firm or my own salon. And I feel like the more I'm in college learning this information, the more I'm going towards an accounting firm. Like, I thought about it. This information costs in certain areas, and I was thinking that there should be something that everyone can afford to learn this information, because I wish I did, but I am, but in college, to other people that's not in college, and they have to literally like pay a whole lot just to know the basics.
Rebekah, one of the themes of Ajah's story is how in college she became a shopaholic for information and that books, YouTube, and the internet helped her to reinvent and develop herself into the entrepreneurial, accounting, business owner type person that she aspired to become. What do you think about that idea of you are what you eat, and that your media diet and the information you take in can kind of shape your identity into becoming who you want to be?
You know, I think whenever you look at whether it's books, music, other types of media, television, movies, those things influence and impact us, just like basic marketing, right? That people are doing, commercials and ads for a reason. So there's some evidence there that's working. And for us as individuals, we have to be really careful and thoughtful with what we take in, because that is something that comes into our minds, whether intentionally or unintentionally, as we're making choices and decisions with the types of content that we take in. So if we take in a lot of content that's increasing our perspective, that's acting in our values, that can help us to respond in a positive manner. If we are taking in lots of content that has a lot of violence or maybe angrier tones, sometimes that can lead to additional stress or tension in the body versus that calming effect.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll get on a kick where, like in October, I'll watch a bunch of horror movies and horror podcasts, and I'll be like, why am I so tense and like scared all the time? I'll be like, oh, that's all I've been consuming.
Yes. Everybody jumping around over noises, after they've watched Michael Myers a few too many times. Absolutely. That's a great example. And that's a real example of how these things impact us.
So, Ajah, you graduate college, you're now in the workforce, you have a degree in accounting, you're ready to be a business owner. I'm thinking back to you in high school when you saw that poster that said you are what you make, and that kind of resonating as your purpose. How do you feel about that phrase now?
I was a smart cookie. I was just like, I'm glad I looked at that thing. I feel really good. Like, I literally take in that whole phrase because I what you do to others, what you get back. I just gotta say, I did good for myself and other people. So, like, I would inspire my friends. Of course, they're not gonna do the same thing as me, but like, just like, know there is something out there for you. As long as you meet halfway, you'll get it, or better.
Yeah, like, what would you say to someone who was in your position when things were bleak?
Well, I'm not gonna say things will get better because that seems cliche, but like, I mean, I guess I would say that. But also, it's not the end all be all. I would give them figures like to look up to, like Oprah's good one. One of my favorite artists is Kendrick Lamar. So instead of just me saying things like things get better, it'll work out. Like, actually give examples and know that there's something out there for you. Things that are great come from struggle, and really think that's important to let that person know.
There are so many people, again, who just need a little bit of support or a little bit of perspective, because we see so many young adults where they come into our program and with just a little bit of support to advocate for them or to even just dose them with perspective of what's possible and what their life could be like, they just take those tools and resources, they soak them in, and they run with it. And we are so proud as an agency and as a LifeSet provider to see so many of our youth who, have stable jobs, they have good steady income, they are able to live independently with their own housing, they've got their own transportation, they are able to live independently, and that's just a wonderful, beautiful thing for everybody. And beyond that, they are good people. They have good values and big ideas, and they're going to make the world a better place. And I can't think of anything better that communicates strength and resiliency than these folks who are putting in the time and effort to do their own work, and then them being a healed person is what's going to help our collective community get so much better and make things better for the next generation. So, it's like the saying that heal people, healed people. And so the more that we can reach and the more that we can impact, the better, because hurt people hurt people. And so the more that we can help those hurt people heal, just the better that collective impact is for everybody. And that's what's powerful about using an individual's strengths to get them to a place of health and healing and well-being, because that collective nature, city by city, as we grow LifeSet, is going to heal our communities.
I will say that if nobody else believes in you, you have to believe in yourself. I just sit down, have pep talks with myself, and really sit with myself and get to know myself. I would say you are your best person.
From Youth Villages, I'd like to say thank you for listening to this episode of Stronger Than You Think. And thank you to Ajah for sharing your story with us. If you'd like to get involved with Youth Villages, Rebekah has some more information about our programs and how you can help.
When you think about, how can I use this information? How can I be a part of the change that I want to see? How can I embody those traits and values? How can I help the community? You need to think about your own values and what you're able to commit to, what you can give your best yes, and evaluate what's a fit for you, because everybody can do something. So for some folks today, they are like, okay, I can donate some money because these programs are creating a great impact and I want to help in that way. For some people, they are great with social media and marketing, and they can help share stories or help share, if it's a staffing need or a need for mentors or donations, whatever that is, they can help to drive that bus forward and to increase that impact. For other people, they are going to find so much benefit out of being a mentor. So you can set the hours that you're able to take a young adult or a child and impact their lives in a really positive way. And I think that is so therapeutic and healing for that person. And it just builds that connection in that community. So of course, we would encourage that. And if you are interested in this field or profession and helping others, then there are so many different positions that you can go into, and you will get extensive training and support so that you know how to best help and how to best engage others. And I can't think of anything better than really being the body and the full embodiment of helping to make the world a better place. And that's something that you can say. If you come to work for Youth Villages, you can say that absolutely that you have made this world a better place each and every day that you come to work and show up. And there's not a lot of folks that can say that consistently. And so I think there's so much value in that.
If you enjoyed today's episode and want to support the show, the best thing you can do is recommend it to a friend. Maybe share it with someone who you think might need it right now. We'd also love to hear what you thought about today's episode, so leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Production support was provided by Parasar Studios. On behalf of Youth Villages, this is Alec Ogg reminding you that you're stronger than you think.